Hey guys, welcome back to the Ice Project. Today we are doing a Q&A podcast, so roll the intro.
Welcome to the Ice Project. Welcome to the Ice Project.
I got Lowkey on here asking the questions. I reached out last night on Instagram. We'll make this a bit more of a regular thing. We'll start filming them all as well, so we can break them up into micro content for you guys here on Instagram. But first question, Lowkey.
Here we go. Part one of the question. You always mention how you were afraid to be overworked and lost sleep. Do you have done so? Would you have done so well if you weren't willing to work those long days?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when I first come into business and entrepreneurship, I was very influenced by Gary Vee, and he was sort of grind your ass off as much as you can, as hard as you can, for as long as you can. And it did work for me. Like, I'm not going to discredit that, but I feel like it was a super important part for me to sort of do those long hours, because once you sort of realize, once you work that hard for that long, it's not something that's sustainable. I think he's a bit of an alien, a freak when it comes to this sort of type of work ethic. So I was after sort of 2-3 years, I remember I used to work all day. I wouldn't hardly ever eat, and then I'd eat at night time, go to bed at sort of 11, 12, 1, wake up at 5, and I had this little fear of getting outworked. And I think it was an important part because it helped our business grow, but I think I could have done that work in half the time. And that's sort of what I'm starting to preach now, is trying to be a bit more of a success with not as much workload. Like, I go to bed about 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock now. I'm sleeping 8 hours. I'm waking up a lot fresher. I'm in a better mood. I'm not getting agitated as much. I used to go through these phases when I was probably about 4 times a year, where I would sleep for 4 or 5 days constantly, and I thought that was sort of a badge of honor, you're working really hard, but it's probably not that smart, probably not that sustainable, probably a lot more stressed than I needed to be. So was it important? Yes, but could I have done it better? Yes. So I think that sums it up.
All right, question 2. Should I shout out the Instagrams or?
Yeah.
Dinscare92. I feel like this is a proper Ask Gary Vee show here, isn't it? Thoughts on doing business with friends or moving in with friends?
Moving with friends, definitely do that. That's a fun one.
100.
Depending on how old you are. It's YKTR started because me, Chico, and Norman used to live together and had a lot of good times together, and put YKTR on a t-shirt. So I would always recommend living with friends, sort of get you away from your parents as well. I think it's important to learn to stand on your own 2 feet and figure out how to pay bills and how to organize food and do all that sort of basic life stuff. But going into business with friends, I'd be a little bit skeptical. Usually they're on a similar thinking level as you, and say YKTR, we're on their drink and we're fuck, let's just start a business, and because they're all your friends, you all sort of think the same. They're the sort of first ones you want to go into business with, but it does get a little bit messy. I've seen it get messed up a few times just by talking to people, by going into business with family members and friends. I think the reason why we've been a success is because the 2 boys have let me do everything, and they've had their say in it. Basically, it gets to a point where I go Chico, what do you want from the business? Corey, what do you want from the business? All right, cool, I can accommodate to that, but just let me do the rest and just trust me. And it hasn't always been smooth sailing. We've had plenty of tough conversations between us, and those are hard because they're your best friends, and they're saying oh, it shouldn't be done this way, and I'm saying it should be done this way. But yeah, it all starts to work out. So I'd be very careful going into business with your friends. Just because we've done it doesn't mean everyone can do it. But that's a tough question, because I want you guys to do it, because YKTR, whatever success we've had, I'm able to share that with the 2 boys, and that's one of the best feelings in the world. And people have asked me, would you ever try and buy the boys out? I'm nah, never. You don't want to be successful on your own. That's just my opinion, but not everyone's sort of like me. So it's a tough question. If you're happy to share it with everyone, go into business with your friends. And if you're happy to have tough conversations, go into business with your friends. But if you're motivated by money, success, I wouldn't. I'd go alone.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird question,
Yeah, I think it depends on the mates that you're with, though. That's if you got 2 mates that are both heads in the game, you both want to work. I know it's not quite the same for you and Chico and Corey, but ideally, if you were in business with, imagine if you had not someone like yourself, but someone similar to yourself, sort of like Dice Digital. Like you've become mates with someone, then you've partnered up with them and you're both going to grow together. So there's two examples.
We're completely opposite too. That's the thing. So yeah, if you're completely opposite, that's a good thing. So if one's creative and one's business, that partnership could marry up very well. But if you're like, say, both creative, I feel like that's where it starts to get like a little bit messy. Like who's the boss, who's not the boss. So we don't have to, I don't want to say names on here, but we don't have to look too far. People in a similar industry as us who both worked hard and they're not like business partners anymore. So yeah, I don't know. Try it and just, you know what you do? Once you go into business, write it out straight away and go, if this fails, this is what happens. So it's almost like a prenup where you know what you're getting into. So
Huangers and Mash has the next question.
Some random Instagram names.
I know. At least he's got a profile, but actually no, it could be. Oh well. What's your pick for the next big business trend?
I don't want to be like try and be like business Nostradamus and guess things, but if you look at what we're doing at YKTR, like everyone looks at us as a clothing company, so everyone's trying to start a clothing company because it looks super easy. But I don't think that's the play. I don't think clothing companies. I think media is super interesting. I think there's a gap in there. I think that's why we started sports media. I think online education is super important. I think those are my next two plays, and it's quite obvious. Like I've started YKTR Sports. I've got the blueprint of doing all that sort of stuff. So I think it's going to be around those areas because everyone wants to get smarter, but not even enjoyed the natural format of a class, or they were embarrassed to read in front of their class, so they never picked up the habit of reading because it was a little bit too hard, and now it's stunt their learning. But they can learn other ways through storytelling, through audio, through a whiteboard and stuff like that. So I think that's super interesting.
And I think if you're looking at it from like what's going on in the world at the moment, look at things like Joe Rogan going to Spotify, or like the Joe Budden, all that sort of stuff in media.
Yeah.
Big companies going audio is like a big moving forward. Like Trump and Biden might do the podcast with Rogan. Like that's what 2020 is like these days.
And I think with businesses, like you don't want to be too far ahead of the trend or else you won't sell. Like I'll give you an example, and this is more around like fashion. Like we dropped like an orange, when we first started, we saw orange coming. So we're like, oh, let's drop a bright orange fucking shirt. And like out of 100, we sold probably like 10. And if we sold that like a year later when it was on trend, like we would have got rid of them all straight away. So you don't want to be too far ahead of the trend where you invest capital and it fucks up. You kind of want to be just before it takes off. And you don't always have to be first, but you want to be best. So you look at clothing as another example. There's so many people coming into this clothing industry and everyone's starting a new clothing brand. They've all got a cool story all of a sudden, but you're coming into a saturated market, and to get through the noise, you're going to have to be the best. So it's like a Royal Rumble. Go to the space where no one is. Try to be the best in there, but don't be too early.
Facts. Billy Parker, how should I DM influencers to post my product? And do I offer money straight up?
Nah, don't offer money straight up. What you find, I don't feel like influencers are as influential as what they were probably, say, a couple of years ago. I think that's sort of 2013 to 18, they were sort of prime. Still relevant, still. But what I found with influencers, like if they'll wear your stuff, they'll wear the next brand, it kind of gets diluted across all their different stuff. And we've measured it. What I would do, I'd have I actually talk about this in the blueprint. I'd have a strategy. I'd target people between 5 and 10,000 followers, 10 and 20,000, 20 and 30,000, 30, 40, 40, 50. Get 5 influencers from each that you want to target and hit them up. Usually the ones with smaller followings, they're more likely to do it for a gift. So you call it gifting. So you go, hey, here's a YKTR t-shirt. Can you post it? They're more inclined to do that. And then what you do, you attach a discount code to their name. And if they do get your sales, then you pay them. So gift them, offer them your product in exchange for a photo, attach a discount code to the name. So it might be ICE20. And if they do end up transacting into sales, then you can pay them. Don't pay them straight away, because a lot of the times you get influencers with 100,000 followers and they'll go, oh, this is my going rates. And like, we've paid them in the past, and so they don't equate to sales anymore as much as they used to. So be very careful.
Off the back of that, would you think it doesn't always have to be to try and get a sale off the back?
Yeah, branding's important. Yeah, sorry. Branding's super important as well. So exposure, like if you got your clothes on some cool people, that definitely helps. We've had our clothes on some pretty cool people, and doesn't always equate to sales, but equates to branding. Two very different things. So if you're going to give something away, your ROI should be one, a transaction, or at the least branding.
Yes, definitely. Shane O'Connell, would you recommend starting a podcast for your personal brand or business, and why?
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. It can't hurt. If depends on your industry and whatnot, but if you think you've got something to say and you've got an audience to try and build towards, tell your story through podcasts. It's depending on what medium's right for you.
Yeah, I would have said 6 months ago I would have gone 100%, but then like people inbox me and go, "Oh, I've started a podcast off the back of you," and I listened to them and I was like, "Oh, maybe this isn't their platform." I think starting any type of media, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a blog, whether it be video, you have to find the one that's right for you. If you're naturally charismatic and you enjoy asking questions or answering different types of questions, I definitely think get into the podcast space. You can definitely develop those skills as well. But I reckon I'm 80-20, 80% yes, 20% no. But yeah, if there's no one in your space that's talking about whatever industry you're in, I'd definitely be getting into it because you want to be the first into that.
Yeah, in saying that, going back to your boy Gary Vee, he always tells a story where he missed the blog because he knows he couldn't write. So he missed that wave, knowing that the video podcast, that's more his avenue. So just understand what you're good at and don't try and force something if you're not good at it.
Yeah, agree.
Jackson McAuliffe. What's Finchie's role going to be? Huge fan of the decision.
Finchie's role is just going to be himself, and I think the industry that he's come from in the past, like if you look at big media, you've got like, I don't know how the structure works, but you've always got people to answer to. You've got like directors, you've got public opinion, which is super important, which sways those types of shows where you look at those shows that they're very like PC at the moment. I think we're just going to let Finchie be himself and we'll give him the infrastructure and the platform to do it, and we'll promote it the best we can. But we just want him to be himself because, I don't know, there's so much, so much PC stuff out there. And he talks about it off air where he says, say Fox League, for example, they've got a show on every single night. But because you're making so much content, it kind of dilutes it a little bit as well. So we just want him to be himself. We want him to be, he's got a very high league IQ, very good storyteller, very funny. Probably got access to people that we can't get access to. Like he had Freddie Fitler as his first guest, and Freddie doesn't do podcasts or anyone. So, I don't know. It's a work in progression. But what do you reckon?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to sit in on 2 or 3 of them now, and it's not what you expect from Finchie in terms of like the larrikin and everything like that. This guy knows his footy backwards. He remembers who played the ball on the third tackle of every set.
He's fucked like that.
In 1999. Like the guy's footy brain is incredible. I can't wait for everyone to hear it and see that side of Finchie. He's born for this sort of media and sort of having a bit of a chat to him where he wants to go with his career after this. I think this is the right platform to sort of build his, not that he's lacking any credibility or anything like that, but to just get his voice out there authentic, as opposed to like the Fox Sports or your Nines who are always going, hey, we need this perspective at halftime, we need this, where he can just come, I want to chat to Freddie Fitler, I want to talk about this, and show his personality through that. I think everyone's going to love it.
And we're talking, we've talked to plenty of people that have been through the Fox Sports sort of network and Channel 9 network, and it's kind of like, it's like reality TV, and you hear people coming off The Bachelor, and they kind of push you into certain scenarios, and they sort of let you react however you want to react. So they'll push storylines on TV and cause like arguments between 2 different people. They're not 100% authentic. They're kind of being pushed towards that way, and obviously how they react is how they react. So there's sort of that side of it as well that you hear about. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I think it's just going to be one of those learn on the go type of things. But essentially, he's got no one to answer to except for like me. So
and not even like it's not really answering to you at all. It's just, hey, can I use the podcast equipment?
Yeah, but it seems like I'll still want the final say on some of the things.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But way different to a Fox.
Yeah, where they got a board of directors and then someone else, and someone else, and someone else. It's just, yeah, bro, post that. Hey, bro, can I post this? Yep. No.
Winston Neville, why'd you move to Bondi?
I always believe in improving your lifestyle. I think I've lived in Rosebery or Alexandria for like a year and a half now. I talk about it in this new course that I'm doing, and sort of you always want to be upgrading your lifestyle. When I talk about life momentum, we've done it with our business where we started from our my apartment, we moved to Parramatta, we moved to here, and then say 2-3 years from now, I'll kind of want to outgrow this office as well. So I'm always looking to improve lifestyle. I wanted to move closer to the beach. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, one of my goals was to live next to the beach. So I lived out in Penrith and I moved to like Gladesville and I moved to Alexandria. And I thought it was close here to the beach, but now I'm not too far. So I just want to improve lifestyle. Want to wake up in the morning, go for a run, go for a swim and feel good every day and come to work and try and smash it. So it's essentially it. It's taken a while to get there. Obviously, don't rush out and start renting in Bondi because it's super expensive. But sort of at that point now where multiple streams of income and like one part of my business is paying for one of the rooms. So I thought, why not?
How good.
That's why.
Joelo 89. How do you overcome fear of unknown? Example, starting a new business.
By understanding fear of not starting one as well and fear of regret. That's probably the ultimate one. So everyone's nervous to start a business because they're going to get judged from everyone around them and everyone's going to expect you to fail. And that's cool. Once you can accept that, that's cool. And that's when you start a business. But the other side of it, if you don't start and then someone like the amount of people go, oh fuck, I was going to start a business, clothing business then. I was going to do a podcast. I was like, where the fuck is it then? So that's the other side of it. Regret's worse than being anxious and starting one. So you don't want to be old and regretful.
Next one. Caleb Sharples. Does the blueprint suit everyone? Example, this bloke's in the construction industry and he's looking to expand.
I think parts of it would, but I wouldn't. I'd probably say no. It's more tailored towards like side hustle to e-commerce to full-time jobs or people that are already in e-commerce. I had some landscapers in here last week doing a consulting session. I feel like I helped them through that way, through different parts of the blueprint, but probably short answer, no.
Cool. Jesse Gallard, thoughts on the NRL team's social media? Kinda lame, hey.
You're probably more equipped to answer this question. Yeah, we like some of their content. Could it get better? Yeah, 100%. But the thing with, and I've come from a football background, it's kind of perceived as negative, social media. And then like boys will train, then they'll have to go do an interview. They're like, oh fuck, can't be bothered doing this. It's kind of like a nuisance. I think it's starting to change now slowly, but we do like some of the accounts. We love Melbourne. Melbourne's really good.
I said that on mine the other day. I think the way that they're editing their photos, they're giving access, doing all those IGTVs when the boys are playing golf on that little putting green.
Sandor's really good for him. Like if you got someone like Sandor Earl who's like happy to get in front of a camera and talk a bit of shit, I feel like those guys are really important for a team. Gives it access as well.
Definitely. And I think when you're looking at it from like the NRL's perspective on social media, yeah, they might look at like the YKTR Sports, the Bloke in a Bars, the Roasties, and our audience isn't the whole NRL audience. The NRL's audience is everyone that's a fan of rugby league. So they do have to do content catered to everyone. But then you'll see them, they'll do memes, they'll chip in. They've been getting, who's that kid that does the kicky, the soccer ball tricks and stuff like that? What's his name? Someone will know who I'm talking about. It starts with, do you know who I mean?
No.
He lives in the outback and he's got the goalposts and stuff. Hocken, yeah. Jed Hocken. So they're implementing other parts of social media. I think it was really impressive, and where the NRL could take tabs on is the NFL. Well, the way that they came out first week, the way that they've done all their content, the Instagram reels for the scores at the every game and everything like that. I think if I'm in the NRL, I'm looking at someone like the NFL, even things like the NBA, and just taking notes because they're doing it really well.
Yeah, same thing. Like if you think of the NRL, it's a big organisation off the back of the year that they had in 2020, getting new people in. They've always got people to answer to. So like Lowkey said, the type of content that they can post has to be tailored towards a certain demographic and has to keep like this niche group of happy and this niche and this niche. And I think it's essentially going to be a point of difference later in time, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously there's a few graphic designers that I know that have picked up jobs at NRL clubs and things like that. And like from speaking to them, they'll do like a whole graphic. They'll send it back to the department, and then they'll be like, "Oh no, we can't see the sponsor on the front of the jersey. Can you redo it again?" So they're all the
shit like that.
Commercial decisions that where you understand why that's important. If you're paying to be on the jersey, they want to be able to see it. So it's not just like doing what we do and posting, moving forward next post. So. Jumping on the next one, Doughboy Pizza. This will be Tissin, the people that looked after Footy Companion last week.
Oh, I live around the corner from them now.
Oh, do you? Yeah. There's the new local. What NRL clubs look after their players for retirement best and some examples?
The clubs that win. Anyone that I had a coach one time talked about, he goes, if you want to get looked after football, you have to be a success now. So if you look at the coaches and like say Canberra Raiders in the early 90s, they were the dominant team. When they come through, they all got all the gigs. Like Mal Meninga was coach, Laurie Daly was coach. Ricky Stewart got coaching gigs, Craig Bellamy got a coaching gig and stuff like that. They moved into media. You see the Melbourne Storm boys, they're all slowly starting to move into media. The Billy Slaters in media, like Cooper Cronk. So if you want to get looked after properly, you have to be a success. And I understand where the club comes from, where I think you get looked after for 2 years for injuries and stuff like that, and free education. There's plenty there, but it's also the club's job to sort of develop the new players coming through as well. So I don't know. I'm kind of both ways on this. Should they look after them a little bit more? Yes, but should the players have more accountability? Yes. So yeah, it's a hard one because.
Think about it, they're an employer, so I don't look at my previous employer and go, do they still look after me as well? So it's that weird, I know it's completely different, but it's still sort of similar.
Yeah, but it's just a completely different world though, isn't it? Yeah, you're thrown into a spotlight, you're thrown into money, you're not expected to know all those, I don't know, it's hard. I think on the mental health side, they can definitely, I don't know, I've been away for a while, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask.
All right, next one. We have JD Lowkey. Do you base any of your drops around trends?
Sort of talked about that before. You don't want to be too far ahead of a trend, or else, like you know when you go to a pub and there's that guy and he's got that real loud shirt on and loud shorts, and you're like, bro, what are you wearing? Everyone's got their mate. But he's just a little bit ahead of the trend, and it sort of rolls off the back of like designer labels. Then it'll sort of come down to guys like us where we want to be on the trend but not too far ahead of the trend. So no. Insane. We follow trends in terms of colours, but I think we're more a lifestyle brand. We more base ourselves around content and sell clothes off the back of it. We're not just focusing on the product to sell because it's based on a trend. So I don't know. I haven't really explained that well, but yeah, color wise we are, but in terms color wise, cuts and fits we are, but we're not too far ahead of the trend because we learned our lesson last time.
I think Tech Project's a good example of that.
Yeah, Tech Project's a good example. Like we're probably a little bit ahead of the trend in terms of like the bright yellow and stuff like that. But even like when I see Nike have it in their stuff now, it's only like touches of it. We just went fucking bang.
You can't miss it. All right, that's Nate Gladden. Ever thought about coaching players who are retiring about identity versus profession?
I think Sione Famuina's doing something like that with his Athlete Empire, where it talks about transition and sort of stuff like that. But I think I would want to one day, but I'd want to be in a point where I didn't take any money from them. Like I would be financially secure where I could get, say like Kalen Ponga, and the next Kalen Ponga's coming through and he's looked up to YKTR for the last 5-6 years and loved the podcast and doesn't know what to do with like management and stuff like that. And he come on as like, Ice, could you like manage me? And like help me in this transition and let me build a personal brand around you. I'd love to do that, but I wouldn't want to take money from him. So that's the difference. I'd love to, but I knew for like a select few. I wouldn't want to be like a player manager or anything like that.
Yeah, and we've spoke about that before. Last question, and it's a good one because we've got a very long day in the office, so I'm going to take note of these. 3 things to get us motivated for the day.
I'm excited to wake up. You're alive. I was pumped for that.
Let's go.
Some people dying today, which is kind of sad. Some people are sick, lying in bed, which is sad. What did I say? What was the question? 3 things.
3 things to get you motivated for the day.
Coming to a job that I love. We built this up, and like this job didn't exist 2-3 years ago. This office was here, but it was here for something else. I'm grateful for that, and like a little puppy that sort of gets excited to see me when I wake up. So there's my 3 things.
Good.
What's yours, Lowkey? One, me. Oh, we got the race.
Yeah. So today it's going to be a cool day of content. So I got up. Supposed to have a podcast with Finchy, meeting some pretty cool players that I grew up watching, but that got postponed. Definitely the race and footy companion. That's always fun. So it's all 3.
Thursdays are big content days for us, and
long day.
Tuesday's going to be a big one as well. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. That's it, eh?
That's it.
See you guys next time.